Well, I am so happy to see all you here today. This is my first time at the 10:30 service, so this is really exciting. So I just want to thank Andrea and Jason for doing my sermon, so I'm going to go home now because they pretty much covered everything. Well, not quite everything. So we are talking today about I am secure in the everlasting arms of God, which is basically going through the dark night of the soul and coming out knowing that we're okay. So last week we looked through the eyes of God. And now this week we're asked to go to that place of faith. Now that we can see God outside and in our surroundings, we need to see God within ourselves. And we can really embody it. It can be a challenge starting in that place of faith, standing in that place of faith when I feel like our world is falling apart. I know Reverend Mike asked us to take a media fast this month, but last week, you guys weren't here if you didn't see it. I took pictures from the James Webb Space Telescope, and I put it in my PowerPoint. And so this week, I was on Instagram, and all my friends had these amazing pictures. They were traveling, so I decided to use their photos in my PowerPoint today. So I'm starting with my friend Nick, and this is on the 101 freeway, probably around Agoura. And this photo really caught me because the rays of the sun were just coming through, and it felt like God was holding me, securing me, knowing that I am safe. And so when I see photos like that, or when I'm walking my dog in the morning, I took a picture of this too, that just makes me pause and just take a deep breath and knowing that God is inside of me. Our monthly theme is freedom. And as Andrea was saying, you might go through the crucible, but you get on the other side, there's a freeing, there's a lifting. We free ourselves from that self-imposed bondage in our belief system and releasing our limiting thoughts. And as Ernest says, there is no limit to the law, but there appears to be a limit to man's understanding of it. As his understanding unfolds, his possibilities of attainment increase. And so as we learn, through 30 years and going through these programs, really learning to trust the law. This photo is from my friend Brian, and he's in Michigan right now in the Upper Peninsula. And this picture caught me because the flowers just so beautifully outline and frame the sun shining on the lake. I hear there's a few lakes in Michigan. I don't know which one this is. I should have asked him to be more clear. And I was realizing as I go through life, my thinking really is what's causing me to struggle. It's not so much the condition, but it's my thinking of the conditions. And I love Reverend Nancy because she's the person I go to, and she just might say a sentence, a word, kind of gives me a little smack on the side of my head. And all of a sudden, these beliefs that I had about myself and about who I was just simply released. Even Andrea, I love you, Andrea, your energy, and happy birthday. It's just talking with these powerful women and our practitioners. This is how we get free of our thinking and our conditioning. Because the truth is, no matter how bad it is, God is for us. The Spirit, the universe is for us. This is a picture that my cousin's wife took in Seattle, and it's Mount Rainier. And it's just so majestic. I don't know if you've ever flown into Seattle, but when you fly in, you see that mountain off. I think you have to be on the right side of the airplane to see it off on the side. And when I look at this, it kind of takes my breath away. It's just a powerful moment. So Ernest says we should learn to trust life. There's no power in the universe which wishes anyone ill. Life is good. God is good. Why not expect this and begin to live? Brett, do you like this photo? Do you want to tell them where this is, Brett? This is Twin Lakes, and I don't know who this person is, but I follow them on Instagram, and they post these most amazing pictures from Mammoth. And sometimes he'll do like the photographs where it's long exposure and the sky over Mammoth Mountain. And as Brett knows, this is really one of my favorite places, as I know it's...
Danilo?
Yeah.
Danilo?
Yeah, Danilo, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he just has the most amazing photos of Mammoth. So yes, trust life. Life is good. God is good. My good is my God, as Emma Curtis Hopkins says. But what happens when it's not so good? What happens when we get messy and have a condition or a situation that occurs that's not so pretty? For me, it was January 26, 1998, and I had 3 people die on that day, all separate incidences. And by the end, I used to call it Black Monday because it was Monday. You know, people can tell you what day it was. You know, there's certain days I know. June 17th, 2005 was a Friday. January 26th was a Monday, 1998. And my friend passed away, and I called it Black Monday, but now I call it Transformational Monday. And by the end of that year, I went to 11 funerals. And I remember I gave the eulogy for my tennis coach, who was like a second father for me. And it was at that beautiful Buddhist temple down in Los Angeles. And the monk got up to speak, and he was like speaking right to me. And he said that teachers come into our lives to teach us stuff, but sometimes they need to leave for us to learn more. And I still can see that moment when he was saying that. A year later, a boy, Sam, whoops, where's Sam? This is Sam, started taking tennis lessons with me. This was no ordinary child. This was an old, old soul. And we didn't play much tennis. We did a lot of talking more. And we'd talk about life. We'd talk about everything. And I was sitting there one day chatting, not playing tennis like we usually did. Don't tell his mom. Actually, she knew. And this little voice said to me, he's going to get cancer. He's going to go into a remission. And he's going to transition. And I remember sitting there going, what? He had a pain in his leg. He went and got an MRI that week, and it was the day after, I believe it's the day after his 13th birthday, he was diagnosed with osteosarcoma, which is bone cancer. And his mom wanted to tell me in person because he was so important to me. And I still remember the moment. You know when things happen in your life and they're so poignant, you never forget it. It's like that Kodak picture. And I remember her walking up to me. I was walking to the bathroom, and she looked at me, and before she said anything, I said, he has cancer. And she's like, yeah, how do you know? I'm like, I don't know. And she said, is he going to be okay? And I said, yes. But in my mind, I said, oh, the voice said he was going to transition, but even if he transitions, I know he'll be okay. And in the Bible, Jesus said, everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. And we know that. That's our teaching, our ever-expanding soul. This started a 4-year journey for the family of chemo and surgeries. I mean, they did surgery here, they did surgery there. But this boy was the biggest teacher in my life. He never asked why me. He never said, woe is me. He never complained. And let me tell you, he went through some pretty tough surgeries. He taught me courage. He taught me strength. He taught me humor. But most importantly, he taught me unconditional love. I sent him an email saying, how are you doing? How's everything? He was in the hospital having a procedure, and he sent me back, I love you very much. What 13-year-old boy tells a teacher they love you very, very much? This boy was not meant for this earth. He was way ahead of his time. He knew the secret was unconditional love. And I just think about him, and I still have that email. I was looking for it to bring it to read you exactly what he said, but I couldn't find it. It's there somewhere. We did a fundraiser for Make-A-Wish. It just happened my other student wanted to do a fundraiser, and he's like, oh, we'll do Make-A-Wish, and we made him the poster boy, and we did a raffle. And in the raffle, he won the free haircut. And what does he say? He doesn't say, oh, this is ridiculous. He says, we know that God has a sense of humor. And that's the kind of boy he was. And we used to have this thing, like we'd say, Timmy, because he used to watch South Park all the time. That was one of his favorite cartoons. And we'd be like, Timmy, Timmy, which to us meant, I love you, hello, goodbye. And so we'd always say, Timmy, Timmy. And I went to see him. They actually took out part of his jaw and his teeth and to get rid of it because the bone cancer metastasized to his jaw. And I went to see him shortly thereafter, and he was all swollen from the surgery, and I went to his house, and he answered the door, and he's like, welcome to Big Al's Used Auto Shop. We got Cadillacs, Lincolns, and Subarus. He was the most positive kid I've ever known. And he wanted to go back to school. He didn't want to stay at home. He had no teeth. He had, his face was a little deformed. He had scar tissue everywhere. He went back to school. Didn't think, some of us are like, my roots are showing. I can't go out in public. But this is the kind of boy he was. Early, I went to see him Monday, and they discovered the cancer had gone into his lungs, and they said we can't do any more surgeries. So I went to see him that Monday, knowing he didn't have much more time, and he said to me, I started to tear up, and he said, don't cry. It's all good. It's all good. We'll have lunch on Friday. Well, we didn't have the lunch date for Friday. I'm like, okay, Friday we'll have lunch. He died that Friday morning, June 17th, 2005, early in the morning. He was telling me that he was going to transition that Friday. That was his way of telling me it was going to be okay, and we were going to have lunch. He's always with me. In my car, I have a little Cartman that he gave me, and I've kept it in my car for 17 years. You could steal my rackets, you can steal hats, whatever in my car, but that Cartman in my car, that little 10 cents plastic figurine, is the most important thing in my car. He is always with me. And in Matthew 28:20, he says, I am with you always, even to the end of the world. This is Sam. I was taking a train in Germany, and I think it was Germany, it could have been Scotland, and I was kind of staring out the window with my headphones, looking at the scenery. And there was a younger couple on the train watching some videos and laughing. And all of a sudden, I hear, Timmy! And I look, and I was shocked. But then this big smile came across my face, and I said, I love you, Sam. That was about, I want to say 10 years ago, so he'd already been gone about 7 or 8 years. And it just we're always connected. And we need to see the signs. We need to look out in the world and see how we're connected. Sam wasn't cured, but I know his soul was healed. My heart misses him dearly, his physical manifestation, wondering what he would be doing now, wondering how he'd be changing the world. My heart sings because I got to know him. He was in my world. He got to be one of my people. And my heart he's an amazing kid. And I know people in our congregation and several of my friends have had loved ones transition way too early. And I was talking with someone in our congregation the other day, and she was saying that the light of her daughter was so bright that she couldn't really see anyone else because her daughter just overwhelmed her, her daughter's light, she couldn't see her grandkids. But then when her daughter transitioned, almost she was attached to her daughter that now she was able to see her grandkids and she was able to accept love from other people because she was so focused on her daughter. And it was untimely and painful, yet there was freedom in it. And this is our monthly theme, is how do we become free from that which holds us down? Same thing for me. When all this death has happened in my life, it just reminds me that life is so precious. Life is so important, and it's right now for us to live. Releasing ourselves of any thoughts of no goodness or I can't do it or I shoulds. How are we going to use that dark night of our soul? How are we going to keep ourselves out of our mental jails? I really love the Mary Stevenson poem, Footprints in the Sand. You promised me, Lord, that if I followed you, you would walk with me always. But I noticed during the most trying periods of my life, there have only been one set of footprints in the sand. Why, when I needed you most, you were not there for me? The Lord replied, the times you've seen only one set of footprints is when I carried you. So this is what that song was about. And that song is actually my alarm clock. So that song I listen to every morning to just remind me that through it all, I'm okay. even when things get rough. So I listen to that song every single day to remind me, the mountains, they're not blocking me, they're keeping me going. There must come a time in our experience when we speak the conviction that is within us. The conviction of the spiritual universe in which we live is real and powerful. This is our time, this is our universe, this is our spirit, this is our energy. We can use this. This photo is in France. My friend Claude is there, and I just loved how the trees protect us when we're walking down the road, looking at nature. And during these trying times is that when we can really lean on our spiritual principles and practices. This is when our community comes to love and support us. This is when we find out we're not alone. We have people. We have people. The universe never said we weren't going to go through the fire, but the universe did give us a fire suit, and the universe did give us people to help us get us on the other side. We might come out with scars and a few bruises and a bumps and a few missing body parts, but we will come out on the other side. Who are your people? Who's your person that will help you get through this fire? Sam's passing was not easy on the family. They went through some really tough times. But I had lunch with his mom last month, and she's doing fantastic. And his sister, she's just rocking it. She is such a rock star. And so, like fire to a piece of coal, they're beautiful diamonds, as are we. This is why we go through these trying times. This is why it just makes us stronger, and it really realizes that we're not alone, and we have this community, and we have this spirit, and we have these practices and these principles to really get us to the other side. So I'm going to invite you all to take a nice, deep, conscious breath. For those of you who weren't here last week, whoopsie. The photo I'm going to have up is from my last week's PowerPoint. This is from the James Webb Telescope. I just had to put it up again because it's just so spectacular. This is God in expression. This is the universe. This is God manifestation in a beautiful picture. So reading from the Science of Mind book, this is called the Carina Nebula. So reading from today's 365, just take a nice deep breath, go into your heart. I am secure in the everlasting arms of God. I feel the divine presence in, around, and through me and all people. A great sense of calm and peace flows through my whole being, in confidence and in light. Realizing there is no separation between the spirit within me and the spirit that God is, knowing there is but one spirit, which is God in me, God in everything. I feel confidence and safety and security in that presence that today, in this everlasting arms of good, of peace, of joy, and of life. I am secure in consciousness that today and every day I shall be guided and guarded and protected. And I am secure in the consciousness that all people are protected by the same divine presence, governed by the same law of God and good, and guided by the same infinite love. I am one with all, both visible and invisible, one with the seen and the unseen, one with God, one with humankind. I am blessed in this unity.